It is July 7th, 2023. It's 11:03 a.m. and this is Coffee with Community Services, Alta California Regional Center's weekly vendor meeting. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We've got 45 folks on and people still joining. We'll do some quick introductions of some regional center staff and go into our agenda. So first off, I see client advocate Reva is on this morning. Good morning, Reva, and I see Scott, our QA specialist in CSS, and Carol Wilhelm, client services manager. Good morning, Carol, too, and Heather Hollingworth, who is our new lead community services specialist. Look at that! And so we have brought on another lead in community services, and congratulations to Heather Hollingworth. Let's see. You're going to hear from Rima in a little bit. Rima, our deaf and hard of hearing specialist. Good morning. And Jennifer Bloom is on, our director of client services. Good morning. And our associate client services director, Tracy Brown's on. Good morning. And let's see, out of our Woodland office, I see Veronica, our manager there, one of our two managers. Let's see, and Jason, another one of our lead community services specialists. I see Leah and Beverly from Community Services and Adriana and our managers, Jordan and Helen, and our, let's see, Client Services Director, Michelle Johnson is on as well as our Director of Intake and Clinical Services, Camelia is on here. I see my assistant, Zach, this morning as well. Good morning, Zach. And let's see, I see Gary from Community Services and Associate Client Services Director Faye Tate is on this morning. Good morning, Faye. And I see Client Services Manager Cindy Lay, who's currently upside down on my screen, which looks really awesome. And then Michelle Duchesne, another one of our community services managers. To get into our agenda here today, we have a few different things. We'll start it off with Rima first, and I'm going to turn my laptop upside down, and then Cindy will be right set up, and all the rest of you will be upside down. And let's see, we're going to talk about rollover quickly. We're going to talk about some ideas for future resource development for our community resource development plan. I want to talk about that a little bit. I want to talk about some of our housing development activities that are going on right now as well. And want to talk about the budget, provide some information about the budget and the trailer bill. And let's see, we've got some responses or information back about our 637 for early start therapies. So we'll discuss that. And then we've got our early start job fair that's coming up and some SLS forums. So lots on the agenda of different things to talk about. Certainly, if there's anything that you would like to have discussed and we have not hit on it, or if there's something from one of our management staff that is on that they wanted to share as well, we can certainly do that too. So please feel free to utilize the chat for that. I am now going to throw it over to Rima, and I'm going to spotlight Rima as well so that hopefully she makes it onto the video recording. So I'm going to add a spotlight there, and I'm going to not spotlight myself anymore, and I will ask Rima to take it away.
Okay, hang on one second. Okay, I can see myself now. I lost my page. So hello. So I'm going to have got 3 more summertime signs for you. Sun. It's signed like this. Also, we've got swim, much like you're swimming. Another sign is swim. You can swim more than one way, so that would be considered kind of a gesture. So swim or swimming. And then also fireworks. So you do that 2 times. Fireworks done twice. Yep. Since we just all got to see all the nice fireworks. And for Deaf Culture 101, talking about fireworks, could they be annoying to deaf people or visual noise? They could be. It really just depends on the individual. Some may be able to hear some of the firework sounds. Some maybe can't handle how loud it is. And also it could be a trigger from maybe a traumatic experience that they had. It also could be a visual trigger as well. So be considerate. Not every deaf person is the same. And you think, oh, deaf people would be able to hear the fireworks. They may not be comfortable. So same thing with hearing people as well. I had a funny video where we call Deaf Gain, and it has this thing, about me being deaf and fireworks. Do you mind if I share that, John?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, hang on a second. I'm not able to share it on the screen, I guess. You know what I do? I'll post the link so you guys could take a look at it.
Perfect.
Do you want me to give you the link, or
If you can put it
want
in
me
the,
to give you that share access, so I could share it? I don't know which way you want to do that.
well, why don't you put it in the chat and then folks can view it on their own computers at their leisure.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. Perfect. I see it in the link in the chat right there to the YouTube video. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It just it's a joke, and it's for people who aren't sensitive to sound. So I think you might, some deaf people can sleep through the fireworks. I don't know how hearing people could do that, but I don't know if illegal fireworks are going on, all over Sacramento, or I don't know if they woke up some folks or not. But anyways, it's just a short, like less than minute video. You might get a laugh out of it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Rima.
No problem.
All right. So I'm going to remove that spotlight, and I think I'll add that. All right. Real quickly here, I want to just discuss rollover. We've got some service coordinators on here, and certainly case management supervisors and others like myself that have been case management supervisors in the past. And so rollover is always fun. A lot of work for our case management, for our accounting department. We don't get as impacted in the community services department, other than we do want to make sure that we communicate clearly to service providers that all the authorizations that have been done have already been sent out. So if you're missing an authorization, as soon as possible, please contact that service coordinator to make sure that you have an authorization for service. Talk to our accounting manager, Robin, this morning. We always meet with her before we meet with all of you to get updates from accounting. And she did tell us this morning that everything had already been sent out, that had already been updated through rollover. That being said, we have had a significant amount of staff turnover over the last few years. And I do understand that there are some retroactive, purchases that are being looked at right now. So with that being said, just know that it is our responsibility that as quickly as possible, we are going to get authorizations fixed. But at this point, please make sure that if you are a service provider and you believe you should have an authorization and you don't, that you are communicating with that service coordinator. And if you don't know who the service coordinator is, you're welcome to reach out to the front desk at the regional center. You can go on to we have a phone listing as well, org chart. It's all on our website if you're trying to reach out. But we really need you to get in connection with our staff if you're missing authorizations at this point. Anything else? I don't know, Michelle or Jennifer or Tracy or Faye, anything else about rollover? Again, it's done, but there might be a few lingers, kind of, is what I heard.
Nothing from me, John. I just appreciate the message you shared with providers to reach out if they are missing a purchase.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And again, just want to really speak to our service coordinators and to our client services managers that this very impacts them a lot every single year. It is one duty I do not miss. And I certainly remember Carol Wilhelm helping me out as a new client services manager, because she said, you're doing those rollover reports, right? You're making sure that's getting done. And it certainly helped my unit out and the vendors that I was working with when I was a new manager 10 years ago. So with that, that's rollover. If anyone has any questions, again, the main message is get in contact with the service coordinators ASAP. Jordan, you had some movement with one of our community resource development plan projects over the last few weeks, and we've not been able to update folks on that. Can you explain how you tried to salvage this project and what happened?
Yeah, so for our ASL signing staff pilot registry, we had to post that a few times. We initially posted it as a resource that would not only build a signing staff registry that could be utilized by various vendors, right, to try to pull staff from, but also to become a vendor in our outlying areas, providing in-person interpretation services. So we had posted that twice and that was not successful. We did not get any applicants, and then we got permission from DDS to amend that proposal so that it was not a requirement to do the in-person interpretation service, but just solely the ASL signing staff registry. So we are very excited that we got a qualified applicant who we have awarded the project to, the founders of Deaf Rise. So we will be working on that. We have also awarded our forensic adult residential facility. That's a level 4I that's going to specialize in supporting clients with forensic involvement and recovery addiction support needs, right? Substance use disorders. And we've awarded that to Jonar Pilar. He currently is from the Bay Area, so we're very excited. We'll be posting those things on our transparency website next week, so I can update you guys more about the funds for the awarded projects next week when we have all that on our transparency website.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jordan. Additionally, I want to talk about I'll give an update on some of the housing things that have gone on in the last few weeks, and then also a further idea about the community resource development plan. So first off, I've shared with folks before that we at Alta are beginning work with a group of folks in the city of Davis to develop what is called the Shriners property. And the Shriners property is located across from Mace Ranch in Davis. It's in the northeastern part of Davis, kind of right on the edge of Davis. It's actually part of it is an unincorporated area that they would look at annexing into the city of Davis as well. So after having multiple rounds over with the city council, most recently with Peter Mendoza from State Council on Developmental Disabilities joining me out there to give public testimony, we were able to take that Shriners property project and move it forward to the environmental impact report, which is a huge deal to get that started. And the first part of starting a project like this is getting that environmental impact report. So we were able to get a lot of written support as well from our Disability Housing Alliance, which is a group of largely family members, clients, and advocates that meet with myself and with Rhonda, our new housing specialist, monthly. So we meet monthly with them, and they were able to be utilized to provide very good public comment as well. Additionally, the folks from Team Davis, if you've heard of them before, Robin Dewey was out there for support as well for the Davis City Council. We have to do a lot of these different types of meetings and things like that in order to get a project like the Mirasol Village project to come to fruition. And so with this project, to give you an idea, we do these city council meetings now, but we wouldn't even be looking at a groundbreaking until 2028. And so it takes years and years to get these things going. But we'll keep you updated on it. There's a lot of these housing activities that are constantly going on, and we want representation across our catchment area for these types of opportunities. So with that, we are also currently providing some support for the what they call the Super NOFA, or Super Notice of Funding Availability. And that is through the state of California's Housing and Community Development Department. So in essence, what we're doing is we are writing letters to the state of California that says affordable housing developers should get more credit and for their applications. And basically they should get better opportunities to get low-cost financing from the state of California because they're serving people with developmental disabilities that already have a big service system around them, which is the regional center system and all of our system of vendors. When you think about the services that are available out in the community for homeless veterans or people that are formerly with substance use disorder, it pales in comparison to the services that are available through our 14.6 billion dollar, developmental services system in the state of California. So we are supporting projects in a few different areas. We are supporting a project in Roseville at 300 Taylor Street, and that is a project I've discussed in the past, and that would be to bring affordable housing for people with developmental disabilities that are also seniors. So this is a senior housing development, and the set aside units that we are looking at putting into that project would be for people with developmental disabilities that are 55 and older. So again, and this is a project that the department is, well, these types of projects the department is really interested in because of the increased interest in both looking at the aging community as well as looking at the people with developmental disabilities and their housing needs as well. So it really checks a couple different boxes. Additionally, we are continuing to do the MHP application for the Cornerstone Village project down in Elk Grove. Some of you, it's gone under a few different names. We called it Bethesda at one point. We called it Able Light Village. I think we're at Cornerstone Village right now. And this project is one that we did an application last year. And if anyone read the SACB this week, would have seen that they got an additional $4 million from the city of Elk Grove this week as well for that project. So I know that the folks at DDS and certainly at Alta, we're very happy to see that Elk Grove project, continuing to move forward that way as well. Additionally, we have another project called the Q Street Project, which is located near Sac State. And that's another project where we've been writing letters of support for the last couple years. And the hope is that if we get, the approvals on these applications, that it will then become affordable for these developers to be able to set aside units for people with developmental disabilities to use. There's a lot that still needs to go into that, but this is just one of the kind of multiple things that we are doing right now in the housing arena to try to increase opportunities for our clients. So in discussing this, there was a meeting that was held about 3 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, the community development meeting. And I finally had an opportunity to watch the recording, and this is from the Developmental Services Task Force. And in watching the recording for this, I learned that they discussed, and I also spoke with Karen, who's one of our family advocates and stakeholders, who's a member of the group for the DS Task Force Work Group for Community Development. And the idea is, in essence, taking these large single family home properties that we've developed all over the place throughout our counties to house these CPP homes. So homes for people that are largely moving out of the developmental centers. Many of these homes are located on multiple acres of property, 2, 3, 4, 5 acres that we have. And so what we learned is that the state of California is supporting regional centers to develop accessory dwelling units on the land that is currently where the licensed care home is. And apparently this is not a licensing issue because it's not a licensed setting. It'd be a supported living setting. And so in essence, what I am interested in hearing feedback about, and I'm starting to gather it, is we want more opportunities for housing for supported living. We hear it from supported living agencies all the time about the challenges that folks are facing with their housing. And so if we are able to maybe possibly do 1, 2, or 3 of these ADUs, that would allow us, there's going to be the upfront construction costs to build them on the properties, but the properties are already owned by a housing developer organization. And then therefore they can be the ones that own the properties. So we don't have to worry about that conflict that we always run into of the SLS agency can't be the one that owns that, property that they're leasing from, for example. And so I'm San Gabe Pomona Regional Center successfully did this, I learned, and I am interested in what folks' thoughts might be about us replicating or asking for something like this for the future. We've tried lots of different little things. We tried to develop duplexes at one point, but the funding from the department just wasn't enough to really make the duplex work, for ongoing. But since the housing developer organizations already own the land, it seems like it would make it much more affordable for us to be able to kind of pencil out leases for people that are living there. I mean, it could be, maybe 2 people or so, in an ADU or something like that that's back there. And right now the properties are largely completely unused. And this makes sense for the housing developer organization owned properties. It would not necessarily make sense for like the ones that are owned by a like certain service provider, because then we worry about the choice aspect of supported living, right? Of whether or not people can bring in the service providers that they want, regardless of who is the person that is the service provider for the licensed enhanced behavioral support home or community crisis home or whatever is on the same property. So it's kind of a situation where you are co-locating it with other people that are, have developmental disabilities, but as someone said, it was Will Liner from Disability Rights California during the meeting said, building 15, 18, 21 units isn't going to get it done. And when he said that, he was reading Alta's upcoming projects that we have from the list that DDS had on their screen. And so I don't know, any thoughts about that for any of our service providers, supported living service providers? We certainly have an SLS vendor forum where we can talk about this upcoming in July as well. But any initial thoughts about this? And Carol, of course, you can weigh in on it as well too. Michelle, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel that we should try it. I really do. I mean, we haven't tried it before, so it couldn't hurt to try. Well, I think the fact that another regional center has tried this, we can kind of learn from their lessons and mistakes maybe, and maybe even do it better here. So I think that this regional center is well equipped. We have a lot of great vendors. We've got a lot of great support in SLS, and I think the community would support it.
Awesome. And I could imagine it could be ILS too. I don't know that it would necessarily have to be SLS. But I think, as I was mentioning when I met with our disability housing group yesterday, there's going to be a time where Jordan's and her staff are going to be putting out those CRDP, surveys, and we're going to be talking about things. And, we have housing a lot, right? People will say housing, people say supported living a lot, that'll be on their behavioral day programs. Like we definitely get all of those things. But again, this is something new and different, like you said, Michelle, that we haven't tried before. And I thought that there would have been a barrier. I thought there was a barrier because of over concentration issues, like we talk about having too many licensed care homes near each other. But if they can overcome it in LA County, then I feel like we can get it worked out up here. We've got a really good partnership with the CCL folks up here. So, and yeah, I mean, even if it's just doing it like for 2 of them, one thing, as we look at doing this, it would be the design of the ADU itself. And I learned about all these prefabricated cool ADUs that you can, purchase and put on properties for just a few $100,000 when you look at how much money we're spending on, some of the high level care home development, it's, you can get a lot of value, I feel like. So, alrighty, well, I see nodding heads, and please reach out to, if someone feels like really differently, like, and you don't feel comfortable about it, please feel free to shoot me an email, something that we need to be mindful of, because we're going to be meeting with the other regional centers on August 2nd down in San Diego. The community services directors are getting together. And I do want to we talked about this last time, but I want to talk about it again to kind of figure out if any other regional centers might be looking at doing this too. But they promoted it, I feel like, during DDS's work group meetings. So I feel like they're going to be, pretty open to at least doing it with like one or two. Maybe we can just try, even just one first for 1 year and then see how it goes. And then, because it's going to take it'll take like 2.5 years probably from RFP to getting it all done, or like 2 years probably. All right.
Very excited to try.
Yeah, right. I mean, we want to be innovative. We want to take advantage of whatever the department will let us do when it comes to these types of things. So, cool. Then I want to get into budget stuff, if that's okay, real quickly. I know that we don't have the official ARCA summary, and we certainly do not have the official DDS summary. But I will drop in the chat the trailer bill, which is AB 121. So you can take a look at that. Highlights from the trailer bill per ARCA. These should not be surprises because we've kind of been talking about them, but there is provisional eligibility for children under the age of 3. And we have for generic services, if the IPP team determines that it can't be found within 60 days, they've been authorized for regional center funding. We have FHA and ILS rate fixes are in there. They're going to do an Office of Employment First, created within the California Health and Human Services Agency. There's going to be an annual family program fee and family cost participation program fee delay. That's going to go through now until June of 2024. And the remote IPP and IFSP get to continue until at least the end of June of 2024. So what will happen is there will be more of a summary that comes out from ARCA related to this, and then about a month, I don't know, end of August, maybe the beginning of September, hopefully we will get an updated letter from the Department of Developmental Services that goes over what the budget is. And I'm just going to share my screen real quickly so that you can, if you like to follow along on DDS's website and find out where you can find this information. So Jordan, are we seeing DDS's website?
We are.
Perfect. All right. And so we will go to, hey, look at that. State budget information is on the very front. So as an example, this is last year's budget. And if you go down here, you'll see that they put out, well, this one, it took them until October 13th. There was a whole lot in last year's budget. But that's the letter to the regional centers. And that is the information that lets us know how we're going to operationalize the information that is contained within the budget. So this is what we have so far this year, and we do not have the DDS letter quite yet. So we will hopefully get that shortly. Let's see, AB 1147 moves forward. We have a position from ARCA related to it that is now in writing, which is related to concerns for, let's see here, the turnover of the board members and the timeframes for the board members, the information that is included in there. I think we've got another hearing coming up in the next week or so, and it's going to go over to the legal, Judiciary Committee, I believe, is the next stop, if I remember correctly. Someone can clear that up for me. So once we get it finalized, we'll let folks know what the final language is for it. But right now, we're still waiting for that to get finalized as well. So a little bit more about the budget, and just know that we'll be sending out more information as we get it from the department. Just as it relates to the FHA rate fix, I think we talked about it in here already, but my understanding is that it allows the family home agency rates to keep track with the ARM level rates. The way it worked is that we are allowed to vendor providers at the ARM level rates, but the rates for the FHAs were then frozen for them, well, other than the other rate increases that everyone else got. But the rates did not keep track with the increase in the ARM rates that have gone on. So what that means is that our FHA providers kind of suffer because they aren't able to kind of see the similar type of increases that, you know, the ARM level providers were, and their rates were developed based off of where the ARM levels were. And so our challenge at Alta has been, how do we get more family home agency opportunities out there when, if we bring on a new family home agency, you know, we would be bringing them on at rates that are significantly higher because we can do a new vendorization at whatever the ARM level rates are, and the ARM level rates have gone up. So now this will allow us to, my understanding, allow the FHA rates to keep parity with the ARM level rates, and then that should allow those to be more sustainable rates moving forward. For the ILS rate fix, that we've already kind of discussed that previously. I think the big thing is I believe we landed on January 1st is still the date where that needs to get implemented, if I remember correctly. I think that's the January 1st date. So, and just as far as rate fixes or other things, I know that there was a lot of questions about, we had the Transportation Vendor Forum, and there was certainly discussions about that. Right now, there is still no updated information related to what the final rates are going to be, other than the per trip rates that we have for transportation companies and for the 880s as well, the additional component transportation. Outstanding things that we are, you know, kind of tracking and trying to be mindful of as we look at the next year is HCBS compliance. We know that, you know, by the end of June of 2024, we are going to be saying that our vendors are all in compliance with HCBS. And though we did a lot of activities to ensure that folks had program design updates and things last year, attesting that they were HCBS compliant, now we are supposed to actually verify it. We still do not have direction from the department on what that is going to look like, but what I will say is that we will be bringing on another HCBS specialist. So we know that there was budget change proposal language to add 50 new HCBS specialists across the state of California. Knowing that it takes us a few months to get people hired, we are going to be hiring at least one of those positions right now. The question in the chat, any updates on training stipends and language incentives, which was that now? I'm thinking two fiscal years ago, right? Yes. So no, we still do not have an update to my understanding about the training stipends and language incentives for the service providers. I do not believe that they have fully operationalized how they are going to be doing that. Had anyone else heard anything different about that at all? I know last time we met, there was a question that Garrett brought up about, oh, is the workforce survey going to get postponed because, you know, the links don't work for everyone? And then, like, right after Coffee with Community Services, we got the message from DDS that they were postponing the workforce survey. So has anyone heard any rumors about the training stipends and language incentives for vendors and whether or not that's going to be forthcoming? If it's still not resolved, Carol, I will just say, and all the other providers, if it's still not resolved by when we meet with DDS at the beginning of August with the community services directors, I'll just make sure that I include that on my list as well of agenda items. So I'm just going to put a little note down. And Zach, when we do our agenda for the community services directors, let's make sure that we include training stipends and language incentives as well.
Yeah. And can you add the ACRE and CESP incentive payments as well?
Yeah, we still are. We still don't have that response back, do we?
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, and I've seen the documents that they were planning to utilize for that. So, and that was a bit ago. So I'm not sure where it got stalled.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, Carol. And so, sorry, Zach, the other part was the ACRE training, ACRE, right? Just ACRE, like that. And then there was a CIE incentive question, and just put down CIE incentive question, Ernie, and then I will pull that correspondence that Carol and myself and Carly were on with Ernie, right? that we never got a response back from, I don't think. All right, cool. Thank you. So HCBS, again, as soon as possible, as soon as we know what DDS.
Ernie reached out to me about that.
Oh, sorry. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, Ernie did reach out about that question and got a little more clarification and was gonna go back to executive team there. So,
Okay. Yeah, that was my, yeah, so we're still waiting on that response then. Um, let's see here. Bu-bu-bu-bum. I'm just trying to think of anything else for our upcoming. So we have the HCBS. Yeah, so for HCBS, again, we're just trying to get clarification from the state. What are those requirements going to be? How are they going to want it documented? But in the meantime, we're going to hire another staff person just because we know that it is going to be an extensive amount that's going to be added to it, because we have to go through 461 vendors. Is that what I heard that are waiver billable, something like that? So there's quite a few of them. We have, through the 637 process, put forth a couple requests, one related to early start therapies, and then also for CBEM. Thank you for those that participated in those meetings and provided public comment. We've heard back as it relates to the 637 for the early start vendors, and we're actually meeting with them at 12:30 today, excuse me. So we'll be going over what the plan is as it relates to that as well. And then as soon as we get, additional information about the CBEM one, we'll reach back out and make sure that we let, providers know, and certainly our staff know, that we've been able to get that, that taken care of. Looking at our calendar of upcoming events, I do see, I don't know if Reva is still on here or not. I thought she was. There she is. Hey, Reva, we have the upcoming Disaster Preparedness Community Forum. What's that all about?
So it's an opportunity for clients to learn how to be prepared in a disaster. And it's kind of like an online forum where we talk about being prepared. And let's see. I'm looking at what you're putting up there on the screen. So the clients are going to log on, and then they'll hear the slides. And if I'm correct, John, will they be receiving a backpack with the materials that they need to be prepared to?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to get verification from our friends at the State Council on Developmental Disabilities about that. But in the meantime, though, we certainly want folks to take a look at the flyers and register. And
register.
I appreciate.
And me and Jacob both will be presenting. So Jacob will be presenting one day, and I'll be presenting the next. And it's looking to be a very exciting event that we've put together for our clients.
Thank you very much. And this has been a passion of Reva's. She's been wanting to make sure that this is an important topic, and it works out well because obviously we have Hewitt in his role as our emergency coordinator, but then we've got great partners at the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. And so it was neat to meet with them as they worked on getting this presentation planned. I did one a few months ago on housing with them, which was a really fun opportunity. And so I really appreciate that we get to do these community forums, in partnership with the State Council. So thank you, Reva, for making this very important to you as well. And for you and Jacob being presenters too for this. So thank you. All right, looking back at the calendar of other upcoming things that we have. So again, just, go through the calendar. You can see all of these events. We've got some good social recreation opportunities that are on here. I think we went over it before, but you can see the way that we have things both on our event calendar, and then also you can see which ones are the Deaf Plus resources as well for upcoming activities. So just again, want to encourage people to utilize our events calendar for upcoming things. Again, we have the SLS Vendor Forum coming up on July 24th. We have a Adult Day an employment program vendor forum coming up on August 24th. So some new opportunities to have your voice heard as service providers. I'm a little bit earlier, the DSP Collaborative website went down for a second, and I hope that it's back up by now, but it seems like it's getting updated right now. I did want to share that we do have the Early Start Job Fair that's going to be going on as well. It's on that event calendar that I just got done showing everyone. And again, this is an opportunity for us at the Regional Center to host an event to support you as service providers in your hiring challenges that you are having. And so this event, we got to make sure we talk about this event when we meet in half an hour with our early start providers, a little reminder that we're doing that job fair for them. So I think, with the DSP Collaborative and the Disability Industry Career Expos that we've been doing, we want to look at providing more and more of these opportunities. We did get some metrics from the website back, and we can certainly see which of the vendors got the most clicks on their individual pages, and you could see which counties. We are preparing a little, because many of you are here today that were part of the DSP Collaborative and also the Job Career Expos. We have a survey that is going out, and it's a very simple Google survey. Zach has got it finished for us, I believe, all good to go. Just waiting for me to give him the thumbs up, so I think Carly can get it sent out. But this will be a survey for both people that have participated in the job fairs and a survey for the people that are posting onto our website. For the job fairs, our goal is going to be, as we do these job fairs, thank you. I got the early start one there. As we have the job fairs, that within 3 months of us doing the job fairs, for us to check back in with you as providers to find out, did you get any applicants? And then have you had any subsequent hires that occurred from that job fair? I know we, heard from CBIM, I think last time, that they were able to get an applicant from the job fair down in Lodi. So there's that we'll be looking at, and then also for the people that are utilizing the website. And so what we talked about is on every 6-month basis, us checking in with those folks that are using the free job listings that we have on our website to find out if you got any applicants from that, and then whether or not we can track the things that the clicks that go on through the website, but we don't have the kind of the feedback loop to know whether or not those individuals ended up getting hired or not by you. So that's going to be a survey that I foresee is going to go out next week, because I will just tell you that I've got a bunch of housing applications that we have to get done this afternoon. And so, Jan, thank you for your message. We did hire a housing specialist, and it is Rhonda Phillips, previously of ResCare. And Rhonda has had to dive headfirst into figuring everything out about affordable housing. And she's getting a very good idea of the landscape of the affordable housing activities that our regional center has done so far. Her big job is going to be working on managing the pilot project that we are doing for the assistive technology grant or assistive technology pilot from the state of California. So she is going to be working with those service providers, with the folks from DDS. We're going to do a planning meeting next Thursday. I'm so excited about it. Michelle Ramirez will be there. And we're going to do it, or maybe she won't be. We're going to do a planning meeting for the assistive technology grant with some of the folks from DDS and our providers, and really looking forward to getting this off the ground. And certainly, I think there's a lot of folks that we can partner with as we look at expanding assistive technology opportunities. Had a good meeting yesterday with the Placer Independent Resource Center that does a lot of work with assistive technologies, and they're part of our housing or disability housing meeting that I have every month. So let's see here from CSS, from our managers. Do we have any announcements, guys? Anything else?
Not that I can think of, John.
We know that there was a, we're going to talk about some things with our own staff on Tuesday. We've got our big meeting with all of our staff. So we are certainly tracking things. SIR changes is one of them. There's the Department of Developmental Services is looking at increasing the number of categories that exist within things like medication errors or hospitalizations, so that we can get a better handle on what exactly those medication errors and hospitalizations are. And so that's some of the things that we're looking at. They're looking at, in essence, a wholesale reforming of special incident reporting to widely, I would say, increase the reportable categories, but that requires a law change that is still certainly in process. And Michelle Johnson has been part of that since the very beginning, the work group that's been working on that. And I feel like Michelle, probably as much as the rest of us, or more than the rest of us, knows about SIRs after all the work that we've had to do over the last few years since the last OIG audit of the SIRs. And so with that, though, I know that there has been really significant progress by our service coordinators when it comes to processing SIRs. We're getting ready to do our exit interview for the Medicaid waiver audit. And, it used to be a rarity where we would find completed special incident reports with SIR follow-ups and everything else. And now, when we get our audit pool of all the ones that we're supposed to look at, by and large, they're completed by the service coordinators, completed by the managers. And so I think we're getting a lot better success in getting things done than where we were at, 4 or 5 years ago before the OIG audit, but it's certainly not a fun way to have to get there. And it certainly is still a big challenge as we continue to just deal with unprecedented growth. And with that, just kind of talking about the Community Services Department, a little stat that we figured out this morning was that in fiscal year 2021, 2022, Alta California Regional Center processed 29 reimbursements, service code 024 reimbursements. That means that we reimbursed a service. That was the first year of social recreation being allowed, and we started doing a number of that. The following year, and since then, we've done 349. So one thing we've really tried to do is be as responsive to the needs of our community as possible, but our regional center would maybe vendor 20 to 30 people in a year. And I just got done saying that we had to vendor 349 in 1 year. So we're really looking at our processes internally here and trying to be as responsive as possible. So when you see like the list of the new vendorizations that come out, we also have to run these vendorizations through our similar processes in community services and in accounting. And so therein lies some of the delays. We're trying to be as responsive to our community as possible. Our service coordinators have had to really step up to gather a lot of the documentation that's required so that we could fund a lot of these social recreation purchases. But again, we're just really looking at the impact because there is a significant amount that is required to set up a new vendorization, in essence, every single time you do one of these parent reimbursements or reimbursements for services. Carol Botello, yeah.
Just a little question about that. So the 024 vendorizations have been used for things like in self-determination, doing person-centered plans for people. If a provider, for example, goes through the whole vendorization process for that. And then also for, like you said, for the social rec things. But it's one of those things that's very concerning on the other end as well. Like we're vendoring regular community things, right? That don't understand vendorization. That's disability language, right? That's disability world. And we're trying to help people be more integrated in their typical communities with integrated services. And then we're saying, but to get paid, you have to vendor, right? So there's problems on both ends of that. It's cumbersome on the regional center side. It's also philosophically has some issues with interacting with our community in a typical fashion rather than in a disability world fashion. And I'm just wondering if there's anything that the regional center or ARCA are maybe doing to kind of help partner with families and other providers to say to DDS, like, this isn't maybe the best way to connect in our community. And I don't know what the answer is.
Well,
But
I think, we know that there's the push for participant directed social recreation services. I believe that is going to end up being an approved service here, and that means we'll get a service code for it. But I mean, if there's any FMSs on right now, anyone want to spare how much free time they have? Because the FMSs are already crazy impacted, and then adding all the social recreation on top of it is like huge. And so, anyways, again, I want to express this. The regional center, we feel like we are doing everything that we can do to try to meet these needs. And again, sometimes it is a social recreation activity that looks like anything else that anyone else would attend. And we're vendoring those things directly because that's what our charge has been, to do that. But then sometimes it is a specialized service, right? Like if you're going to have a segregated swim class to help prepare people to be mainstreamed into the fully inclusive class, then it's a lot more of a vendorization that we need to do, because then we need to know what your science is. Like, we need to know how you're going to specialize that for people with developmental disabilities and help prepare them and everything else. So it's not every vendorization is not as super easy either. And what we found, and we're very clear about it too, is we've really worked to vendor a lot of these folks, but then they get full really fast because people really want these services. And so we're still working on it at our regional center, and certainly looking at ways where we can utilize other resources to help us do this. But the main thing is we also want to ensure that all the new vendorizations and are getting processed, and then if the changes to vendorizations are getting processed and things like that too. So again, all of those things are kind of going on through the department, and that's why when you'll hear us say we're doing our biennials, and the biennials require now so much more activity than we were really giving towards it through our agency previously. But what was nice was there was a meeting recently with DDS, and Michelle Duchesne saw that the steps that we had put in place at Alta were what DDS was looking for when it came to doing those biennials. So again, it's just a lot of processing going on, and we're looking a lot internally to figure out ways to make it as easy as possible and as least impactful on clients and families, because that's the big thing, right? Is not having them. We don't want people to be where we were at 7 months ago, where people were waiting like 4 or 5 months for a reimbursement for payment too, because then the service coordinators are getting all these questions from the families wanting to know what's going on. And so anyways, a lot going on as it relates to some of these social rec things, and we will look forward to seeing what guidance we get, maybe possibly a service code, so that participant directed services can be funded through it in the future as well. With that all being said, it's 11:55, and I hope that everyone has a fantastic weekend. We got through all of our agenda items, and we will look forward to talking to everyone next week. So take care, folks. Have a great weekend.